Muscatine is a city in Muscatine County, Iowa, United States. The population was 22,886 in the 2010 census, an increase from 22,697 in the 2000 census. It is the county seat of Muscatine County. The name Muscatine is unique in that it is not used by any other city in the United States. Muscatine is the principal city of the Muscatine Micropolitan Statistical Area. As of 2011, estimate was 54,184, which includes all of Muscatine and Louisa counties, making it the 208th largest list of micropolitan statistical areas. History. The European-American city of Muscatine began as a trading post founded by representatives of Colonel George Davenport in 1833. Muscatine was incorporated as Bloomington in 1839. The name was changed to reduce mail delivery confusion, as there were several Bloomingtons in the Midwest. Before that, Muscatine had also been known as Newburgh. The name Muscatine is believed by some to have been derived from the Muscatine Native American tribe. The Algonquian-speaking Muscatine were driven out of Michigan in around 1642 by French and natives, and they were believed to have been absorbed into the Meskwaki and Sac tribes by the early 18th century. In 1819, Muscatine Island was known as Muscatine Island. An alternative theory is that the name is derived from a Syrian language term meaning Fire Island. Major William Williams, who was visiting when the town changed its name in 1849, wrote in his journal, "Muscatine in English is Fire Island," in his list of the meanings of Sioux Indian names. Williams wrote a brief description of the settlement. From the 1840s to the Civil War, Muscatine had Iowa's largest black community, consisting of fugitive slaves from the South and free blacks who had migrated from the eastern states. One of the most prominent community leaders was Alexander Clark Sr., a Pennsylvania native, barber and eventually a wealthy timber salesman and real estate speculator. He was among the founders of the local AME Church, assisted fugitive slaves, and petitioned the state government to overturn racist laws before the war. In 1863, Clark helped organize Iowa's Black Regiment, the 60th United States Colored Infantry, though an injury prevented him from serving. In 1868, he successfully desegregated Iowa's public schools by suing the Muscatine Board after his daughter Susan was turned away from her neighborhood school. 11 years later, his son Alexander Jr. became the first black graduate of the University of Iowa College of Law and its first black graduate from any department. Clark Sr. went to the college and became its second black graduate 5 years later, despite being 58 years old, saying that he wanted to serve as an example to young men of his own race. Clark rose to prominence in the Republican Party, serving as a delegate to state and national conventions. In 1890, Clark was appointed ambassador to Liberia by President Benjamin Harrison. He was one of 4 Muscatine residents to be appointed as a diplomatic envoy between 1855 and 1900, a remarkable feat for a town of such small size. George Van Horn was consul at Marseille, France during the 1860s. Samuel McNutt served at Maracaibo, Venezuela in 1890. And Frank W. Mullen represented his country in Reichenberg, Austria in 1900. Less than a year after arriving in Liberia, Clark died of fever. His body was returned to the U.S., where he was buried in Muscatine's Greenwood Cemetery. In 1975 the city moved his former house about 200 feet, to make room for a low-income apartment complex for senior citizens. The latter was named in his honor. The University of Iowa's chapter of the Black Law Students Association is named for the Clarks, as a testament to the accomplishments of father and son, and their places in the history of civil rights in Iowa. The writer Sam Clemens lived in the city briefly during the summer of 1855 while working at the local newspaper, the Muscatine Journal, which was partly owned by his brother, Orion Clemens. He noted some recollections of Muscatine in his book Life on the Mississippi. In 1884 J.F. Boepple, a German immigrant, founded a pearl button company. He produced buttons that looked like pearls by machine punching them out of freshwater mussel shells harvested from the Mississippi River. Muscatine's slogan, Pearl of the Mississippi, refers to the days when pearl button manufacturing by the Muscatine Company was a significant economic contributor. In 1915, Weber & Sons Button Company, Incorporated was the world's largest producer of fancy freshwater pearl buttons. From that time forward, Muscatine was known as the pearl button capital of the world. Weber is still manufacturing today and celebrated its 100-year anniversary in 2004. Muscatine is nearly as well known as the watermelon capital of the world. Muscatine was the hometown and operating location of the notorious broadcaster and cancer quack Norman G. Baker, inventor of the calliophone. Indiana, 1925-31, Baker operated the powerful radio station KTNT, published a newspaper, and operated the Baker Institute, a clinic. He also owned numerous businesses in the town. Muscatine was formerly a stop on the shared Chicago, Rock Island and Pacific Railroad and Milwaukee Road line, but the Rock Island station no longer exists. The two railroads split near the railroad crossing on County Highway X61. A portion of the Milwaukee Roads line is still extant and is used to serve one rail-served business and for the storage of rolling stock. Muscatine was hit by an EF3 tornado on June 1, 2007, which destroyed or damaged areas of the city. On February 15, 2012, Vice President of the People's Republic of China Xi Jinping visited Muscatine. He had previously visited in 1985 as part of a Chinese delegation to learn about American agriculture, so Muscatine was again on his agenda when he toured the USA in 2012 before becoming president. Geography. According to the United States Census Bureau, the city has a total area of 18.35 square miles, of which 17.30 square miles is land and 1.05 square miles is water. Muscatine is primarily located on a series of bluffs and hills at a major west-south bend in the Mississippi River. The river bend gives the city roughly 260 degrees of riverfront. The highland area of the town is divided into three ridge-like hills by Papoose Creek and Mad Creek, each of which flow individually into the Mississippi in downtown Muscatine. The city's main roads follow these ridges and valleys in a spiderweb-like fashion. Several large working-class neighborhoods and industrial sectors have been built on what is called Muscatine Island. This flat, sandy expanse was largely underwater when a portion of the Mississippi River followed the course of the present-day Muscatine Slough. It is unclear when the river changed course. The hills, river, and island are all integral to the diversity of Muscatine's economy and housing sector. As the city's urbanized area develops, the areas of highest elevation in the High Prairie Crescent are increasingly reappropriated from agricultural land to suburban housing. Positioned some 25 miles from the Quad Cities, 38 miles from Iowa City and some 68 miles from Cedar Rapids, Muscatine is the smallest link in a non-contiguous populated area which surpassed 800,000 residents in the decade following the 2000 census. The key feature of this region is that although the populated areas are non-contiguous, a high percentage of residents commute between the cities for work, particularly those in professional fields. Demographics. 2010 census equals, as of the 2010 United States Census there were 22,886 people, 9,008 households, and 5,923 families residing in the city. The population density was 1,322.9 inhabitants per square mile. There were 9,830 housing units at an average density of 568.2 per square mile. The racial makeup of the city was 87.8% white, 2.3% African American, 0.5% Native American, 0.8% Asian, 6.4% from other races, and 2.2% from two or more races. Hispanic or Latino of any race were 16.6% of the population. There were 9,008 households of which 34.3% had children under the age of 18 living with them, 46.8% were married couples living together, 13.4% had a female householder with no husband present, 5.5% had a male householder with no wife present, and 34.2% were non-families. 28.0% of all households were made up of individuals and 11.4% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.50 and the average family size was 3.04. The median age in the city was 36.1 years. 26.4% of residents were under the age of 18. 8.6% were between the ages of 18 and 24. 25.7% were from 25 to 44. 25.7% were from 45 to 64. And 13.6% were 65 years of age or older. The gender makeup of the city was 49.1% male and 50.9% female. 2000 census equals, as of the 2000 United States Census, there were 22,697 people, 8,923 households, and 6,040 families residing in the city. The population density was 1,348.1 people per square mile. There were 9,375 housing units at an average density of 556.9 per square mile. The racial makeup of the city was 90.40% white, 1.08% African American, 0.37% Native American, 0.65% Asian, 0.03% Pacific Islander, 6.04% from other races, and 1.44% from two or more races. Hispanic or Latino of any race were 12.30% of the population. There were 8,923 households, out of which 33.4% had children under the age of 18 living with them, 52.7% were married couples living together, 11.0% had a female householder with no husband present, and 32.3% were non-families. 27.4% of all households were made up of individuals and 11.4% had someone living alone who was 65 years of age or older. The average household size was 2.49 and the average family size was 3.04. Age spread, 26.4% under the age of 18, 9.2% from 18 to 24, 28.6% from 25 to 44, 21.9% from 45 to 64 and 14.0% who were 65 years of age or older. The median age was 36 years. For every 100 females there were 94.7 males. For every 100 females age 18 and over, there were 90.2 males. The median income for a household in the city was $38,122, and the median income for a family was $45,366. Males had a median income of $36,440 versus $23,953 for females. The per capita income for the city was $19,483. About 8.0% of families and 10.9% of the population were below the poverty line, including 13.2% of those under age 18 and 9.6% of those age 65 or over. Economy. Companies in Muscatine include Bridgestone Bandag, H.J. Heinz Company, Carver Pump, Monsanto, the Kent Corporation with its subsidiaries, Kent Nutrition Group, Grain Processing Corporation and Kent Pet Group, Musco Lighting and Stanley Consultants. Headquartered in Muscatine, the HNI Corporation designs and manufactures office furniture including chairs, filing cabinets, workstations, tables, desks and educational furniture under various brand names: The Honorable Company, All Steel, HBF, Art Cobble, Paley, Gunlock, Maxon, Lynx, BPERGO, and Midwest Folding Products. Environmental problems. Grain Processing Corporation has been known to pollute the air by emitting small particles from its coal burning. Acetaldehyde is a byproduct from corn ethanol processing, and also lead. The plant released more lead than any other plant in Iowa, according to DNR data. It emitted more acetaldehyde, a probable carcinogen chemically similar to formaldehyde, than almost any plant in the country. The Kent family-owned company with an over 60-year presence has a long history of the Iowa Department of Natural Resources allowing it to avoid improvements that would reduce its air pollution. yet in 2006 GPC had to pay a $538,000 fine for violating the hourly operating limit for years. Points of interest: Riverfront, Mark Twain Scenic Overlook, Kentstein Park, Weed Park and Aquatic Center, Muscatine Community Stadium and the nearby Pearl City Rugby Field, Muscatine History and Industry Center, Muscatine Art Center, including Musser Mansion and the Stanley Gallery, Weed Mansion, Alexander G. Clark House, and many other historic homes dating back to the mid-19th century. 2 historic districts are listed on the National Register of Historic Places: Discovery Park and Environmental Learning Center, W. Joseph Fuller House Street Matthias Catholic Church, Sinnott Octagon House, Pearl Button Museum, former Muscatine North and South Railway Depot on the riverfront. Education: Muscatine Community School District is home to the Muscatine Muskies. Muscatine schools cover Muscatine, Fairport, Iowa, and Montpelier, Iowa, as well as rural areas of Letts, Iowa, Fruitland, Iowa, and Bluegrass, Iowa. Muscatine is home to Muscatine Community College and the MCC Cardinals. Media =print =, the Muscatine Journal newspaper circulates daily throughout the Muscatine area except on Sundays. It is commonly believed to have existed since 1840. Radio Prairie Radio Communications, a Midwestern broadcasting company, has 2 radio stations in Muscatine. KWPC-AM, which has been a long part of the city's history, and KMCS-FM, which has only been in the community since 1996. Cumulus Broadcasting's KBEA-FM broadcasts from a tower near 10 miles north of Muscatine. Residents also received radio broadcasts from stations in the Quad Cities, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, Burlington, Waterloo, and Aledo, Illinois. Transportation: Muscatine is located along 2 designated routes of Iowa's commercial industrial network, U.S. Highway 61 and Iowa Highway 92. Highway 61 serves as a major agricultural industry route to the south from Burlington, Iowa to Muscatine, where it becomes a heavy industrial and major commuter route to the northeast between Muscatine and Davenport, IA. In conjunction with Iowa 92, which provides access to the Avenue of the Saints to the west and the lightly populated western Illinois via the Norbert Becky Bridge to the east, Highway 61 serves as a shortcut for traffic from northeastern Missouri and southeastern Iowa en route to the Quad Cities, Chicago, and points beyond. Several regional highway improvement projects are in the works to further establish and capitalize on this trade route. Additionally, Muscatine is connected to Interstate 80 to the north by 15 miles of Iowa Highway 38. Iowa Highway 22 also connects with US 218/IA-27 to the west, and Davenport to the east. Notable people: Chris Hassel, ESPN anchor, 1, Lee Allen, medical illustrator, Norman G. Baker invented the calliophone, established the Know the Naked Truth a Border Blaster radio station, Jack Barlow, country music singer, Terry Beatty, artist who has worked as a penciler and inker in the comic book industry. Ellis Parker Butler, author, Alexander Clark, an African-American diplomat who served as the United States ambassador to Liberia. Max Allan Collins, author of screenplay of the movie Mommy, which was filmed in Muscatine's Wood Creek neighborhood in 1995. Also author of the graphic novel Road to Perdition, which became a screenplay and was filmed in 2002, starring Tom Hanks and Jude Law. Al Gold, Major League Baseball player for the Cleveland Indians, Scott Halpin, fan who filled in for drums with The Who when Keith Moon collapsed during a performance at the Cow Palace in San Francisco in 1973. Tom Hurst, NASCAR National Racing Champion, Jim Yong Kim elected as President of the World Bank, President of Dartmouth College, co-founder and executive director of Partners in Health, Alfred Wilson Lee, publisher of several newspapers and founder of the Lee Enterprises Syndicate. Ralph P. Lowe, 4th Governor of Iowa, Emmett Lynn, actor, James Bradley Orman, former Governor of Colorado, Dame Margarita Roberti, internationally famous opera singer who spent much of her childhood in Muscatine, including graduating from Muscatine High School. In 1970 she was knighted by the Italian government. C. Maxwell Stanley, engineer, entrepreneur, philanthropist, founder of Stanley Consultants, founder of the Stanley Foundation, co-founder of Honorable Industries, and delegate to the United Nations. Phil Vischer, founder of the Christian series Veggie Tales. Kevin Whitaker and Corey Jen set the Guinness World Record for the world's longest handshake on Memorial Day 2008. 2. Sister cities. Muscatine has 10 sister cities, as designated by Sister Cities International: Crespo, Argentina; Drohobych, Ukraine; Ikikawa-Daimon, Japan; Kislovodsk, Russia; Angstrom-Oma-1/4, Poland; Ludwigslust, Germany; Parana, Argentina; Paysandú, Uruguay; Ramallah, Palestine; Xiangding, China. References. External links. Official website, Muscatine Chamber of Commerce City Data, Comprehensive Statistical Data and more about Muscatine, Iowa.